A lot of people.
I'd like to call to order the October 10th meeting of the Shelby Township Planning Commission. I'll ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Mr. Meredith? Ms. Gonzalez? Here. Mr. Grott?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Apone? Absent. Mr. Larray?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First item is approve the agenda.
So move.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next item is approve of the minutes from the September 26th meeting.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. This evening, we have three items to consider, the first being site plan number 21-43, Suzanne Hampf for Cadillac Asphalt. Is the petitioner here? So if you speak, and this goes to anybody, name and address, and then sign in when you're done speaking.
Aaron Roll, 5450 Rollins Drive, Shelby Township.
Sue Hamp, 77, you want the address, I'm sorry.
Yes.
7799 Turk Road, Ottawa Lake, Michigan.
David Gatke, 4660 Merrill Road, Casco, Michigan.
Okay, thank you.
Hugo Saron, 4909 Walker Drive, Brighton, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. So whoever's going to be presenting, can tell us, give a brief,
Yeah. Is it okay to
Yep.
hook up the?
do our tech folks know?
Is it just this one?
Hang on a second.
It's right here.
Plug in her, she had a presentation.
Ooh, different laptop than ours, okay.
Yeah, is it going to be a problem?
Not with the big money he gets paid.
Oh, yeah.
I think maybe on the back.
Do you
It's
have
on
an
the back.
HDMI?
Yeah, on the back. I got the new laptop, we just noticed
Just try speaking to the mic.
Okay. Thanks for letting us present.
Sure.
We submitted our second submittal. I don't know how well it shows up, but we just kind of wanted to go maybe like an overview, the equipment that might be moving and the new equipment that will be replacing older equipment. So I'm going to ask Dave to come up and speak to that.
Good evening, everybody. So the plan is to upgrade the plant. We're getting rid of some older equipment, the asphalt tanks, liquid asphalt tanks, silos, all new wiring, all new control house, all new breakers, everything to run the control house. As you can see on the screen, the reds of stuff that's going to be replaced. The purplish color stuff is the stuff that's going to be new. And where you see the new purple stuff next to the blue, that's where we want to move the plant to the center of the yard to better facilitate our business. It's quite a major undertaking, as you can see. Basically bring the plant up to state of the art.
Okay.
State of the art for the industry.
Okay, and as also part of that, does it not change? Oh, there we go. And then I think one of the other things you'd asked about the ingress and egress, the next map is, and it's in the packet that you guys got, kind of just shows how the trucks will be coming in and then exiting onto Nappy Drive. And then the drainage ditch, so to resolve the issue we had, we, as part of these upgrades, will also be regrading the yard, and there'll be a swale put in. I think there was one there, or supposed to be there at one time, but we'll make sure that that is graded. That swale will discharge to the front entrance. There's kind of a smaller swale area. There are some storm drains on site, and they all empty into to larger retention pond. That would be to the, oh my God, I lost my north and south. It would be to the southeast. And then this new drainage swale and retention area here, if that fills up, it will also discharge to that storm drain. And so everything will be into that retention pond. And then, Dave, are you going to go through, just to give you examples of what a newer facility looks like? We upgraded our Troy facility. We have some pictures there that I think he wanted to, or Aaron, if you wanted to go through some of those pictures of what that plant looks like.
So this is our Troy facility, and it's kind of an overshot with a drone. This is 90% of the layout that we're going to be trying to do in Shelby. The silos there are 4 silos. Shelby, we're going to have 6. The tank farm shows 3 asphalt tanks. We're going to have 5 plus an emulsion tank, so just a little bit larger than that. Excuse me. Here's another shot with a drone of the finished product. The yard's completely paved, all new cold feeds in line. You can see how clean the yard is, and we keep everything on site. All the water, same thing as Shelby's design is going to be per our Eagle permit, all stormwater stays on site. And you can see that we still keep a lot of the trees. We really don't disturb any of the greenery or any of the greenscape. And that is pretty much our.
So I didn't know if anybody had any maybe additional questions, if there's something that was missing from the
Okay.
submittal or.
All right, well, thank you. Nick, you did the review on this. You want to offer your comments?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So this property is zoned LM, that's our light manufacturing zoning district. The parcel itself is about 21 acres. And back in 2011, this property sought and achieved a Class A nonconforming use status. Effectively, that allows this use to continue as is in the future for long term, basically. The reason for that Class A status was the large amount of storage on the site and the heavy equipment that's used on site. Now that Class A status was approved by the Planning Commission with a condition that any changes or improvements to the site had to be approved by this Planning Commission, which is why you are back here today. Now with that, some of the changes on the site, I'm just going to re-summarize some of the equipment being removed, equipment being salvaged, and then the new structures on the site for the benefit of the Planning Commission and audience. So as far as the removed equipment goes, it'll include the scales, some of the cold feed bins, the existing control house, 3 existing silos, the AC tanks, and then some of the concrete pads that are no longer in use, just removing those and regrading those areas. And as far as reusing some of the structures that will be salvaged and reused include 3 of the silos, the bag house, the drum, shaker screens, 5 cold feed bins, 3 wrap bins, and the blue smoke fiber bed. And as far as the new structures go, looking at scales, 3 silos, 6 asphalt storage tanks, 5 cold feed bins, and a new control center building that'll be up to the Michigan Building Code that our building department is requiring. So with that, at the last meeting that we were here in front of the Planning Commission required some clarification on circulation for the site, which they provided, clarification on dust control measures for the site, which they provided on the title sheet of their site plan they gave us, and then also clarification on the equipment being brought on, salvaged, and reused on the site, which they've also provided for us. With that, we also have 4 remaining comments from the Planning Commission, or Planning Department review and the interdepartmental review we did. The first 2 are the variances which will be required for the silos themselves, which you are aware and you've already put in the paperwork for. So that'll be on the next Zoning Board of Appeals hearing, should it be approved tonight. The variance for those 2 items are the silos at 84 feet and the AC tanks at 55 feet. The maximum height allowance is 50 feet. So that's what those variances are required there. With that, the 84-foot silo is only 4 feet taller than the existing tallest structure on site. And then the last 2 items also are satisfied by the site plan. 1, the Cadillac asphalt does not have a valid certificate of zoning compliance. Should you be approved tonight, we are sitting on that in our department. We're waiting for the approval from the Planning Commission before we grant you the certificate of zoning compliance. And then the other item from the building department was addressing the outstanding drainage complaint, which you have done with your submission and will be reviewed by the engineering AEW during the engineering phase of this project. With that, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. This site has sort of been used for this purpose for quite a while, and I want to commend that you've exercised good stewardship, in my opinion, on continuing to invest in and keep it up, and I mean, it's a necessary function for a community to have the service that you provide, and it, frankly, I think, in my opinion, works where it's at, but you've made it easier for us to welcome you into the community and the investment that you've put into the township. So for that, I thank you. I will turn it to my colleagues here to see if anyone has any questions or comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Grott.
I have one question. As far as output, expanded capacity, or is it the same capacity that you have now?
Same capacity.
So your production of your material will remain the same,
That's correct.
except you brought in more updated technology and no noise, no dust?
Yeah, we're basically just making the upgrades to the plant. So, just replacing some components that are used. You know what I mean, that
Yeah,
pass
no,
their
I
lifespan.
got
But
it.
we are not increasing production.
Okay. Yeah, I spoke to the planner today, and she was very upbeat on your project, and we look at it, and I echo what the chairman said. Welcome, stay with the community. We love to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Any other comments? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Chairman, I'll make a motion
Mr. Meredith.
support to approve site plan number 21-43 Cadillac Asphalt LLC 318 Napa Drive, partial 23-0714-376-013, located north of 23 Mile Road, east of M53. Hot mix asphalt plant modification, subject to the submission of the final site plans addressing all Department of Planning Commission comments and approval of a variance in regard to the height of this island.
Support.
Moved by Meredith, support by Larray. Any questions on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have one quick question. Do we want to have a positive recommendation on the variances?
To the maker?
Yes.
Okay. Supporter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With that amendment, correction, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez? Yes. Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Good luck.
Thank
And
you.
thank you. Next item is.
I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, let me pause.
Got it. Thank you.
Next item is conditional rezoning petition number 22-031 and site plan, Simon Morrow. This is a public hearing, so I'll ask the secretary to read the notices published.
Charter Township of Shelby, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for approval of the following conditional rezoning and site plan. Applicant, Simon Morrow and Salvatore Di Mercurio, 48657 Hayes Road, Shelby Township, Michigan, 48315. Proposed zoning, conditional rezoning from R1, single-family residential, to C1, local retail business, and R5, multiple-family, low-rise, and site plan. Location, 13710 26 Mile Road, southeast corner of 26 Mile Road and Shaner Road. Conditional rezoning petition 22-031 and site plan, Sidwell number 23-07-01-100-015. Legal description is as follows. Lot 5A, oh, excuse me, I won't read that. Planning Commission will meet on Monday, October 10th, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, 52700 Van Dyke, Shelby Township, Michigan, 586-726-7243, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the conditional rezoning application and site plan. The application for the conditional rezoning and site plan may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006, as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. This was published in the Shelby Utica News on September 21st, 2022. There were 237 property owners. 2 applicants and utilities were notified by first-class mail on September 23rd, 2022.
Thank you. Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Great, thank you. Secretary Moore, did we receive any correspondence on this request?
I did not get anything.
Makes sense. I didn't see it either, so I think that's right. So the format for the public hearing will be as follows. The petitioner or representatives will come up, state what they're requesting, their reasons for it. Then I'll bring it back to the board. We will ask questions of the petitioner. I'll then call on anyone in the audience is welcome to come up and offer their comments or ask any questions to the board. I'll make note of whatever questions and comments, and then finally I'll bring the petitioner back up to address any questions or comments that may have been raised this evening. Not a debate. You know, our thing is to try to, our purpose is to find to determine as much information to make an educated recommendation to the Township Board, who will ultimately make a decision on what's being requested this evening. With that, I'll ask the petitioner or representative come up. And again, anyone that speaks this evening needs to state their name and their address when they speak, and then when they're done speaking, to sign in, please.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Tom Callis, appearing on behalf of the applicant and petitioner, Simon Morrow and Sam DiMercurio. My address is 31350 Telegraph Road, Suite 201, and that's Bingham Farms, Michigan. We're here this evening asking for a rezoning, as stated in the public hearing notice. Specifically, we are seeking rezoning of approximately 4.11 acres to C1 from its current R1, single-family residential, and 14.65 acres from its current R1 single-family residential to an R5 low-density multifamily. This property right now is currently zoned R1, requires minimum 30,000 square foot lots, minimum width of 120 feet, which equates to about 120 times 250 depth for a minimum size lot. Now, when you look at that requirement, it doesn't really fit for this area, and I'll tell you why. To the east of us, you have the PUD that was approved for Preston Corners. That's going to have over 500 sites, and the lots that abut our property to the east are 60-foot lots. We currently have a proposal showing the multifamily units there, and we had initially requested 76 units, but it was pointed out that the calculations really only yield 73 units. So we stand corrected. It's 73 units, not 76 units. Those units were proposed to be included in 4 4-unit buildings for a total of 16 units and 10 6-unit buildings for a total of 60 units to get to the 76, which obviously will be reduced for purposes of meeting the rezoning request. Now, this area is 26 Mile Road. It abuts 26 Mile to the north and Shana Road to the west. 26 Mile is planned to be expanded to a boulevard, I believe 100-foot right-of-way, and the master plans for both Shelby, Washington, and Macomb County roads call for that road to handle high volume of traffic. The property right now is currently zoned, is not economically feasible to develop and use or marketable, excuse me. When you have 60-foot lots to the east of you, it's going to be hard to market and develop and sell 30,000 minimum square foot lots heading to the west, especially when you have frontage on 26 Mile, frontage on Shana. You have the hard corner there that's actually master planned for commercial use, which we're requesting to be rezoned to C1 to allow for a retail center, a neighborhood retail center, and for a proposed restaurant use. That retail center would fit in very nicely with the proposed density and residential that's coming in Preston Corners and with the proposed residential density that we have in our development. We did prepare a traffic study per your zoning requirement ordinance that was submitted to the township. That traffic study indicates that there's no negative impact whatsoever under the proposed use with respect to traffic trip generation in and out of the site. And that report was submitted as part of the rezoning packet. Now, what we have to the east with Preston Corners is R1b zoning. We're requesting R5 to abut it and then C1. Now, if you look through the township zoning map, it's not unusual, and as I indicated in my letter of rezoning that was submitted as part of our rezoning package, it's not unusual to find multifamily zoning and uses that abut R1b zoned property and R1b used property throughout the township. And just some of those examples, as stated in my letter, for example, R5 abuts R1b and C2 zoning and uses on the west side of the M53 freeway, just north of 22 Mile. R5 also abuts R1b on the southeast corner of 25 Mile and Shelby Road. There's even higher multifamily zoning, R5 to R8 actually, and even up to R12 that abut R1b zone property on the west side of Van Dyke Avenue, both on the north and south side of 25 Mile Road. So this is textbook. This is a textbook transitional zoning situation where you have the Preston Corners development that was approved for single-family lots consisting of 80-foot lots, 90-foot wide lots, and 60-foot wide lots. The 60-foot wide lots, as indicated, directly abut our property to the east. This is a great transitional, textbook transitional use to allow for low-density multifamily abutting the 60-foot lots, and of course you'll have landscape screening and buffers between the two properties. And then as you head west towards Shana Road, it allows for neighborhood retail, local commercial uses. Perfect transitional zoning. It's right for that area, it's right for that corner, it's marketable, and it's feasible. As I indicated before, as currently zoned, these lots are not economically feasible to develop, and they're not marketable. You cannot build a house in today's market or in the foreseeable future on a 120-foot lot, 30,000 square foot lot. It's going to cost you in excess or up close to $1 million or more to be able to build that with material costs today, with land costs, and you're going to try and market those lots on a hard corner surrounded by 60-foot lots. Doesn't make any sense from a zoning standpoint. In addition, this area specifically in your master plan is designated as a redevelopment corridor. Land uses in this corridor, and I'm citing from the actual master plan, call for flexibility of uses to promote high occupancy. Multifamily residential, low density that we propose will definitely be occupied. They're marketable, they're economically feasible, there's a big demand for them. People just can't afford to live in your township. People want to stay here. You have people selling their houses, empty nesters, retirees. They're selling their houses, but they still want to stay in Shelby Township. This provides an opportunity for them to do so. Further, with respect to the redevelopment corridor, it indicates that land uses to promote high occupancy and to infill vacant lots and excessive parking, which we find not only in Shelby Township, but in many townships in Macomb County. There's excessive parking throughout with developments that are already existing. And to replace those areas in vacant areas, parking lots, vacant areas with buildings that will promote high occupancy, and that's what we propose. So this is an ideal corner, ideal property to develop and use in the manner that we're proposing. We did submit our conditional zoning plan for purposes of showing you what we, under the statute, are willing to commit to under the conditional zoning statute. We're offering these as conditions. Should you approve the rezoning, we'd be bound by this type of development and this type of product for this property. So in closing, again, you know, the current use or current zoning is not economically feasible, not marketable. This proposed use and zoning is perfect transitional zoning. It's marketable and it's economically feasible, and we would kindly request that you make a recommendation to approve the rezoning. Also with me here this evening are the developers and applicants, should you have any questions, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I may accept your argument that perhaps R1 is not appropriate, no longer appropriate for that district. But to go from, there are many steps that go from R1 to an R5. And just because it may be, the easiest and most expedient way for your client to develop his property, doesn't necessarily mean that's the best interest of the township. The master plan did envision perhaps a commercial on that hard corner, so that I could entertain. But to go from the R1 to where, it's been RB, the balance, and that's been a bit of a challenge even to get to the RB, and I think there is still some R1A or underlining R1A within that section of the township, to an R5, I think it is, especially when it's a blank canvas for the township right now. I mean, that hasn't been built. That area, that is our sort of the last piece that we have to put our mark on it. I think that's, in my opinion, far too aggressive, and was not envisioned by the master plan. And I do want to ask, because you may, and there are a couple other comments I'm not even going to get into about, this replacing, I don't think anyone envisioned this being a parking lot, so putting that development there as a parking lot, you don't need to answer that question. And it wasn't a question, it was more of a statement. Redevelopment corridor?
Yeah, so I'm not sure where Mr. Callis found that in the master plan, but the redevelopment corridor is basically focused along Van Dyke, where there's older developments, and Auburn, the Auburn area of the township. That is primarily considered the redevelopment areas of the township.
So,
because the sections 1 and 2, as you know, Mr. Callis, those are pretty much, we have some development at the southeast corner of Section 2, but for the most part, those two sections of the township are vacant, and we have approved some PUD developments in Section 1 and 2.
so the area in the...
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I'll call on you when I want
No,
to.
okay.
All right. So to the board, are there any questions or comments?
Chairman,
Mr. Chairman?
I concur with what you said about the development in the area. I could buy into the idea that R1 may not be marketable, given that was put into place 20 to 30 years ago, and maybe something less than an R1 may be more desirable for the area. I may be able to buy into the commercial on the corner. However, going from R1 to R5 is too big of a stretch to me. Let me ask a question. You mentioned the traffic study. I want you to clarify something for me. One of the issues we take into account is the traffic impact on the area. You've got two tables here on page 7 of your traffic study that I need you to clarify. Trip generation proposed by the existing R1 zoning is predicted to be 238 within a 24-hour two-way volume. Your proposed development, a 24-hour two-way volume, is 1,896. That's just shy of an 8-fold increase in traffic. So can you explain to me how that will not impact the area?
From the traffic report, what I'm reading is that based on the 18.76 acres developed as under the current zoning R1, it yields 25 vehicles during the PM peak hour, versus as proposed to be rezoned to C1 and R5, 92 vehicles during the PM peak hour at the intersection. So that is a minimal amount of traffic for a principal arterial and major arterial road. Peak hour volumes less than 100 vehicles will warrant at most only a traffic assessment. He concludes both roads are designed to carry at least 1,900 vehicles per lane. 26-mile road is planned to be a boulevard divided roadway with a 102-foot right-of-way with high capacity specifically designed to handle large volumes of vehicles.
Yeah, I read that too, but I'm looking at page 7. You've got two charts. One says 238, 24-hour two-way volume. The other one is 1,896. Am I not reading that properly?
I'm looking for what you're...
Yeah, I had to figure out the pages. It's on page 7. It says the forecasted trip generation numbers were derived using the latest version of the Institute of Transportation Engineers, whatever that is, but you're talking about more than an 8-fold increase between the two. That's a concern I have when we talk about rezoning for the area. Now, you said this is a transitional, textbook transitional zoning perfect for the area. I don't agree that, you said it's low density. I don't necessarily agree that that is low density, but why is R5 the only marketable, reasonable rezoning for this section of our township? Because you said it, but why is it?
R5, so because we have 60-foot lots abutting our entire perimeter on the property there, if they were 90-foot lots, I can see the argument for 90-foot lots or 80-foot lots. The township doesn't have a zoning district that will allow for smaller lots without coming in and having to do a plan that just isn't permitted under your zoning district. You have large lots in the township.
We have subdivisions with 55-foot lots and 60-foot lots, several.
But those aren't under a specific zoning, single-family residential district. They may be under a PUD or a cluster option or an open space type development.
So the only rationale for coming here with an R5 in lieu of something less is because you got 60-foot lots to the east?
Not the only rationale.
Because that's all you said so far.
No, you're not listening. That's a big part of the rationale.
I'm trying, go ahead.
That's a big part of the rationale. You're heading west, okay? You've got a major road to the north, a major road to the east. As you're heading west towards commercial, we're master planned for commercial on the corner. So because you're going from 60-foot lots to commercial, it only makes sense that something in between there is smaller than 60-foot lots, but less intense than commercial. That's where we get the multifamily and the low district, or low-rise multifamily request for that area, for those 14 acres. Because it would make sense from a zoning or a planning standpoint to have 60-foot lots abutting us to the east, commercial on the corner, and then we come in with 90-foot lots between, or 100-foot lots in between. You can't market those. Why would I come over there and buy a 90-foot lot or a 100-foot lot or a 120-foot lot when I can go in the Preston Corners and build a house on an 80-foot lot or a 60-foot lot? You see what I'm saying? It makes no sense. You would never market those. You would never absorb them. It's not economic feasible to do it.
But to me, what makes no sense is this development, R5 on this corner. As I said, I may buy into the commercial in the corner, depending on what we get into. But me, one commissioner, one voice, one opinion, R5's too much for the area.
I respect that, but that's our rationale.
Okay.
Just so,
thank you.
To clarify it for you, I apologize if I wasn't clear earlier, but that's the rationale. So.
Okay. Anyone else on the board? No? Okay, thank you. If you want to sit down a second, then we'll bring you back up after comments. This is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this rezoning request. Your remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. The Planning Commission is a recommending body. The Township Board will take into consideration these comments when making the final decision on this rezoning request. At this time, anyone is welcome to come up and offer their comments or ask any questions.
How's it going? My name's Todd Chester, 56789 Shannon Road, Shelby Township. First off,
If you could make sure you're talking to the mic, please.
I want to comment on the notices we got. This isn't normal for me. I don't know how you guys work. But as far as the 300 feet from the corner there, I feel like there should have been more. I mean, I think you said 237 notices. I think it affects more than just people that are 300 feet from that corner. So I wanted to say it first off.
And I mean, we do publish it in the paper to make sure the whole community, and I get a lot of people don't read papers anymore, or would know to look for it, but your point is taken.
So I just wanted to say that. So anyways, right here on Shannon Road, across from this restaurant is my driveway. I totally disagree that that's perfect for that area, and that traffic will not be affected at all. I've lived there about a year. We have, it's like a parking lot outside our driveway. Depending on what time of day. There's a major school down at the corner of Shaner and 25 Mile. And I don't know if you can see from there, it's 2-lane, down 26 Mile and Shaner. Just north of 26 Mile, that's a dirt road. So I don't know that that's a major corner. That's a dirt road. There is a suburb to the northwest of there. And it's nice that if you look at that picture, there's our 4 houses and one across from there, but just south of there is a preserve, okay? And that's, I mean, to me, that's not perfect for that. So that I just wish you would consider that when it comes to that. And as far as the lot size, there was a house that just south of there that was just sold, I think, for 500 and some thousand. They did pretty well. They built a house in between 2 other houses. So I think they are able to build if they wanted to build residential right there. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Sir?
Hey, good evening, Board. How we doing today? Good. Well, I've lived there about 24 years, right across the street from that driveway where it's going to come out at. And we have no city sewers up there.
Your name and your address, please.
I'm sorry?
Name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Tom Corey, 56825 Shannon Road.
Thank you.
There's no sidewalks there. We have no city water. There's no sewers now because the sewers come up to 25 and then they cut behind the school. It's nothing, we have a drag strip out there now. And if we have a place for everybody to come and party at, and all the garbage and everything else to be put up with around there, I don't know. We'd love to keep it residential. I'd like to see somebody get the barn committee involved and restore the 1800 series barn that's over there. And I understand that, and because everybody's driveway is right out there on Shaner Road, it's the main. How are they going to come in and out of that party store and that retail store? And we're getting ready to build 700 houses over here on the corner of Shaner and 25 up to 26. And we're building on the north side of 26. And we're building behind the school. We have houses everywhere going up. And we have these little patio condos, they call them, with their little 60-foot lots. The people's got a 25-foot backyard, which isn't correct. It shouldn't be. Because everybody there's got acre lots or more, and then we have all 3 neighbors in the backyard looking at us, and that's not cool. Because I know most people don't want a neighbor, but more or less 3 neighbors in the backyard on us, in their 60-foot lots. So I just hope you take granted, and I hope you guys do the right thing for the corner, because all 4 corners is residential still.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment?
My name's Tom Neppa. I'm at 58600 Shaner Road. My main thing is the traffic there. I've only been there just about a year, and like Tom said, it is a drag strip over there. Maybe you guys can help me. What is the speed limit on Shaner there between 25 and 26 Mile Road? Because I don't believe it's posted.
45? It might be 50, but
I don't believe it's posted.
The experts told me 45, but I think it might be 50.
This gentleman's welcome to sit in my driveway anytime he wants and just check the traffic out, because trust me, it's not light.
Yeah.
It's, that's the main thing. And you put some commercial like that there, it's just going to make it a lot worse.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
I mean, no, we all live in this community, so. Sir?
Cyril Sugamelli, 56755. I used to live at 26 and Romeo Plank, so I'm used to having, it was a standalone home, and right behind me was a Kroger. And what, in my experience, living next to commercial would be, sorry, I'm a little nervous. The garbage trucks would come every day or every other day. They weren't very gentle. There'd be smells, there'd be garbage all over my lawn. Parking lot lights that would shine in through your window. There'd be a lot of kids after hours that would be back there partying, doing donuts, stuff like that. And I know it's not a Kroger's, but there were semis back there delivering at 1 o'clock in the morning, and you could hear them idling, and it would just rumble through the house. So I'm not against residential, but I am against the commercial part of it. So
Okay,
that's it.
thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Going once, twice? Okay, thank you. I'll ask the planner to offer her comments.
Thank you, Mr. Moffett. So basically, I'm going to reiterate just what you said, too. Our master plan calls for commercial at the immediate corner and low density for the rest of the parcel. While I understand that the PUD to the south has these smaller lots, that was done as a PUD, and there's a lot of open space and, recreation areas integrated in that subdivision. So that was kind of a give and take portion of that development. That is why the reason they have these smaller lots is because they preserved a lot of the open areas with that development. Now, as far as the traffic study goes, back in 2017, the township initiated a traffic study for sections 1 and 2 of the township. So a traffic study in this case was not needed because we already had one. With this PUD, if it is approved, they would have to participate in the appropriate designations for road improvements in that area as designated by the sections 1 and 2 traffic study. Again, this was offered as a conditional rezoning, but I don't see any conditions offered, anything different that the applicant offered. There is really no open space. We can't determine how much open space there is, any preservation areas. There's supposed to be recreation areas to this site, but again, I believe the transition from R1 to R5 is pretty aggressive, and I don't agree with the proposed plan as submitted. Other than that, I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you. One of the gentlemen made an interesting point, one I was going to ask and I'd found out about earlier. Could that site even be served by what they're proposing by public services?
No, not at this time. No, not according to our engineers, no.
So asking for a great additional density, we didn't even know if the utilities could service.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you, that's what I thought, thank you. The petitioner, if you want to come back up. I don't know, frankly, that there are any questions but comments for the board that we've taken, but I'll allow you to make whatever concluding remarks you want to make.
So just a comment, with respect to the plan itself, it was offered under the conditional zoning statute as what we would do if it were to be rezoned. So what we've limited ourselves to do is a development under R5, showing those type of units, and commercial on the corner with the 2 proposed buildings. Now, if the rezoning were to be approved, we would have to come in separately under your site plan review process for the corner for C1 and for the other land for R5. So when we came in with those site plans, that's when they would be reviewed to make sure we meet all the R5 ordinance requirements for the multifamily and all the C1 requirements for the commercial. This is just a plan to show conditions that we're offering. In other words, if you give us R5, we're not going to come in and do something different than what you see here. We still have to meet your R5 ordinance requirements, and if you were to rezone the C1, we would come in with what we're showing here, but we'd have to meet your C1 ordinance requirements. So in other words, we wouldn't come in with C1 and put up a big retail center or anything like that. So it's to give you a comfort level under the statute, and that's the purpose of the plan. We didn't submit for site plan approval. This is not a site plan approval proceeding. It's a conditional rezoning with a plan, conditional rezoning plan is the way we look at it.
But that plan doesn't meet the conditions of our C5 ordinance. So you're submitting something as a conditional plan that doesn't meet it, that you're even admitting.
Well,
you're gonna have to come
it
back
will
with
meet
different.
your ordinance requirements if
It
submitted
doesn't meet it now.
under
So
site
what you,
plan.
it doesn't meet it now.
How does it not meet it?
Doesn't have the proper open space. There's too many units on it, which you already admitted to.
Right, and we'll reduce the units.
Well, but, okay, that's.
Well, the
that's
plan
not
will
what-
meet
That's
your-
not what I'm
will-
looking at.
will meet
But
your
all right,
R5
I'm not
ordinance.
going to argue with it. All right. Anything else?
No, if you have any questions, we're
Okay.
here to help.
Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move. Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. So our recommendation this evening to either recommend to the Township Board approval, to disapprove this request, or to table this request to evaluate the information further, must be based on the following: the practicality of this rezoning request and the effect on the surrounding area, the owner's right to use his land, do current growth and development patterns warrant this rezoning, and is the proposed rezoning in accordance with the master plan? This time I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
I will move to recommend denial to the Township Board of Rezoning and Site Plan Application Number 22-031 for Simon Morrow and Salvatore DiMercurio for property located at 13710 26 Mile Road for the following reasons. The proposed change in zoning is not consistent with the recommendations contained in the Township's adopted master plan. Introducing R5 multifamily residential zoning at this location is not consistent with the surrounding R1b one-family residential zoning pattern and land use. The parcel proposed for the multiple family zoning designation can support a form of detached single-family housing that is compatible with the surrounding developments. The increased request in density does not support the township's sanitary sewer master plan. The increase in density will alter the population density pattern and thereby increase the load on public facilities, and the proposed zoning classification would have an adverse impact on the proposed abutting single-family homes to the south and east.
Support.
Moved by Turner, support by Moore. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner LeRae?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Okay, everybody, I've been scrolling on my notes. Okay, I got everybody good. Okay, so the recommendation will be to deny your request.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Next item, Steve Suave for Villanova Construction.
I don't see the applicant, Mr. Chairman.
Pardon?
I don't see the applicant in the audience.
Okay. Frankly, okay, do you want to present this real quick? Can you
Sure.
just say, I think, they want to paint a brick building white, which seems pretty asinine to me, but I guess everyone's, has their tastes, so.
Sure. The Fifth Third Bank at the northwest corner of 23 and Shaner is looking to do some remodeling and repaint their building. The building currently is all brick facade. They would like to propose repainting of the trim to a gray color and the rest of the brick building to a white facade. Now, in my opinion, I don't believe it's, all the buildings in that area are fairly traditional, and this would not be consistent with the current architectural features in the area of that intersection. So I look to the board to allow the painting of the brick. There's also a section in our ordinance, section 5.27 of the zoning ordinance, that gives the planning commission authority for the applicant to paint or not paint the brick building.
Okay, thank you. But if they wanted to stucco it, Mr. Kirk could let them do it. All right, that's a side issue, sorry. Are there any questions for the planner? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
this has to be one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, unfortunately, so I will make a motion to deny the repainting of brick at 13555 23 Mile Road with Sherman-Williams SW7006 extra white due to the prominent location of the township, and the color proposed is inconsistent with the building facades at that intersection.
Support.
Moved by Turner, support by LeRae. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner LeRae?
Yes.
Commissioner Grott?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez? Commissioner Meredith?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Next item is Planning Director's Report.
I don't have anything, Chairman.
Business from the floor, did you folks want to comment on anything? Okay, came here for the jokes and the entertainment value, yeah. Okay. With that.
Move to adjourn.
Is there support?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 We're adjourned.